So I was called to diagnose this vehicle. This is Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's having issues, so I have to scan it, and it's having other issues, fuel gauge and everything. Jeep Cherokee. So the whole issue is the check engine light is on. That's the main issue. So the client says he wants to know why, and he wants me to see if I can fix the check engine light for it to go off. So when you start the vehicle, the check engine light comes on, and you can see I'm having 6 fault code in the engine. Oh, I'm having 6 fault code in the engine, which is EVA, purge valve, O2 heater circuit. So it's both 1 and 2, both of them are having. And anytime you see circuit high, it means it's either the system is lacking power, lacking ground, and low means the system is lacking power. So with this one, you can see heater circuit, oxygen sensor 1, heater circuit 1. So what I'm going to do is I have to check the ground on these lines, or check anything concerning ground. So let me go into the system, which is the ECM. So they replaced the engine due to certain fault code and other things, and they told me this fault code came on. So with this, I'll erase all the fault code, so you can see all the fault code in the system. So I'll erase them, then cycle ignition, start the vehicle, and see the fault code that will reappear. If they reappear, then I know how to attack the system. Normally, if it was to be circuit low, I would have thought of it being a fuse or something. So cycle the ignition, run the vehicle for a while. Okay, so now go back and let it scan. Just now I have 4 fault codes, and the check engine light is still on. So let me read the fault code again and see what are the actual problem. And let me attack the oxygen sensor first. So if you can see, heater circuit high, bank 1 and bank 2. So I think these are the major fault codes. So I'll attack them and see what is the actual problem. So this is the ground side of the heater circuit. For my wiring diagram, this one has a constant ground. So there is sensor 1 and there is sensor 2. It has a heater constant ground, and the heater controlled switch or pulse width modulation is controlled by the power side from the PCM. So I can do the activation test to see if the PCM will be able to activate the power sources for me. So if the PCM activate the power sources, then that means I have to attack, because for my wiring diagram, they have a constant ground, and whether key on or key off, I should be able to test for that ground. So if I test and I don't get that ground, then that means my issue comes from the ground, as the fault code states circuit high. What I'm doing is go to active test. To activate, I'll start from this one, then I'll come and find for the one on this. So let me start with this. So I'll go to O2 sensor, heater circuit 2, active test. So I'll use the active test to identify. But before it starts, let me plug in my pin into it. So let me do cancel. I don't need any. So now let me go to this, and you can see my test light is turning on. That tells me that the PCM is switching the power side, so it is lacking ground. So let me reduce it to 10, and you can see it looks like the light is even off. So with this one, what I'll do is, now I know my power side is working, so by all means the power side for the one will also work. So let me try that one also. Yes. So with this one also, what I've done is let me do 25% and see if I connected it to the. Let me do the connection properly. So if you see, you can see the light is turning on and it's at 25% and it is sensor 1 bank 1. So let me change it to 10 again, and you can see it is almost dim. So that means the problem I'm facing is from the ground side. So now what I can do is I can take one ground, I can give this side ground and see if I'll have the fourth code to be stored. And you can see they are pending and active. So let me ground it, or no, let me try and trace and find ground, because if I give it ground, it will be like I'm mimicking it and it will turn all the fourth code to store. Okay, let me do that. So now I've grounded this one and the ignition is on. So let me read the fourth code and see if any of the fourth will go to stored. So the moment they go to store, then that means it is seeing the oxygen sensor. So I have to recycle. So now I've cycled the ignition, I've pushed the pin in properly. Let me see if it will go to store. If it goes to store, then that means it is lacking ground. I have to remove all this side and find for the ground, trace the socket and find for the ground and join it, and you can see it has gone to store. So that means these oxygen sensors are lacking ground. So you can see the sensor 1 bank 1 is still at high, so that means it's lacking ground. And when I'm done with this, I'll go to the heater circuit also and see. So now what I've done is I'm tracing the oxygen, starting from the oxygen sensor 1, and I have to trace to see the actual place that, and you can see some of the grounds here. So I'll start tracing it, and for my wiring diagram it has 2 connectors, so there is 1, and let me see if I can let it beep. So the moment I'm doing continuity testing, I'll bring you guys saber. So let me do this and see if I'll get the beeping sound. No, from this side. No. Let me try the other one and see if. Let me test. I have a break in my. So now it was a break in the red wire. So now let me test for continuity on these 2 blacks. So I think one will be for. Yeah. So they replace the engine. Let me do the continuity testing on these black wires. Is in one hand, and let me check for the other one. So now you can hear the beeping, which means there is continuity. But one thing, when I checked, so these 2 wires goes to the oxygen sensor. So now that it is beeping, if I test from this side, when I check this side, one hole, it looks like there is something wrong with the connector. So if you can see these 2 black wires, has to meet these 2 black wires. So it looks like they didn't fit the connector properly. So the connector was fitted wrongly. So what I'll do is I'll remove this socket, then check the issue with it. So as I remove the socket, I found out that it has been turned. So if you check inside, this red thing has to be straight and it has been bent to the other side. So if you look, you see these 2 pins has to meet these 2 black wires, which is here. So now that they've turned it, that means it will miss one. That's why the oxygen sensor is reporting fault codes. So this one, I'll just refix the connectors and do the mistake in it properly, so that I'll fix it back, then see if I'll get ground from the oxygen sensor. So now if I fix this connector and I'm getting ground, any ground I touch on the body, I should be able to get a beeping sound. So I'll use my flash screwdriver to bring this thing straight so that it can enter. Then I'll know what to do. So now I've reconnected the wire. So now these 2 blacks will meet and these wires will meet. So it looks like now the wires are well matching each other. So I'll just test to see if I'll get any ground signal from anywhere. So now after redoing the wire, now you can see it is beeping from the end of the connector. That tells me that it is okay. So let me see if I'll find any ground and see if it will beep. And I'm trying to tap that ground and it is beeping. So that means now you're having ground connection. I have to fix everything back and see if all the fault codes will go off. It was due to this connector being returned, so the fixing of the connector wasn't done properly. So I'll fix everything back, then scan the fault code and see which one will remain. Then from there I'll know what to do or which next fault code I should attack. So now there is the connector that I fixed. So I fitted the battery. So what I'll do is I'll select the whole system and scan it. So instead of doing auto scan, I'll go to the ECU because that's what I need. That's what I need. So with this one, I'll see if all the fault code will go to stored. If they are stored, then that means the problem has been fixed. Then I'll erase it and re-scan it. So the only active code is. So even the evap fault code is gone. Okay, let me go into the car, recycle the ignition, and so I've recycled the ignition. And let me see if the check engine light will go. No, it is still on. So let me re-scan the vehicle again and see if I'll get any other fault code related to any oxygen sensor. Then I can tell the client that we have to change it. So the only fault code is related to the fuel level sensor sending unit 2. That's in the fuel tank. So let me erase this fault code. So the purge valve and the oxygen sensor was due to the 10th connector. So now that I'm done, I'll call it a fix. So I'll do that one later. The fuel sending unit. The oxygen sensor, the check engine light is still on because it is still active. So I'll open the fuel tank and check. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more videos.